Back in those days, if you were black, you couldn't buy a house, you couldn't get a loan, you had to have cash.
After years of silence, Janet Jackson has finally revealed the truth, and it's not just heartbreaking, it's worse than anyone imagined. For decades, Janet Jackson has been one of the most private icons in pop music. Despite being part of the Jackson family and surviving some of the biggest public scandals in entertainment history, she's kept most of her personal struggles hidden. But now she's breaking that silence. This isn't just about fame, fortune, or tabloid drama. It's about betrayal by people she trusted the most. It's about heartbreak that shaped her entire life behind the scenes. And it's about personal sacrifices she made just to protect her peace, even if it meant suffering alone. What she's finally chosen to share pulls back the curtain on what it really costs to be part of pop royalty and why she stayed quiet for so long. From emotional trauma, family pressure, and being forced to choose between love and loyalty, Janet's truth is raw, and it changes everything we thought we knew about her.
The most amazing thing I've done in my life.
In your life, what does it feel like? What does it mean to you being a mum?
Everything. Everything. And I'm so thankful that God allowed me to experience.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So thankful.
It all started like a dream. Music royalty meets hitmaker genius. Janet Jackson, already a global icon with decades in the industry, crossed paths with super producer Jermaine Dupri in 2002. At the time, Jermaine was riding high, producing hits for artists like Usher, Mariah Carey, and Ludacris. Janet was coming off major success and personal transitions, and the timing seemed right. What started as a low-key connection quickly turned into a headline-making romance. To the public, they looked unstoppable. They walked red carpets side by side, showed up at high-profile events, and talked openly in interviews about how well they understood each other. People saw them as a music power couple who not only shared love, but also a deep creative connection. Jermaine wasn't just her boyfriend, he was also involved in her music, including her 2004 album, Damina Joe. The chemistry seemed real, not just romantic, but artistic too. Janet, known for keeping her private life under wraps, appeared genuinely comfortable with Jermaine in a way fans hadn't seen before. She laughed with him, leaned on him during interviews, and let cameras catch glimpses of a softer, more relaxed side of her. It was refreshing. For once, it looked like the legendary Jackson sister had found a real partner who got her. Jermaine even once said publicly that his relationship with Janet lasted longer than any of her previous marriages, and that wasn't just talk. They were together for about 7 years, which outlasted her unions with James DeBarge and Renee Elizondo Jr. That fact alone made it seem like maybe this time she had found something real. But behind the cameras and flashing lights, the foundation was already cracking. Janet later admitted, "I had heard he was cheating." At first, they were just whispers, the kind of gossip that often follows celebrities, but in her heart, Janet knew something wasn't right. The warmth started to fade, the trust began to shift, and eventually those rumors weren't rumors anymore, they were facts. What made the betrayal worse was how Jermaine explained his actions later. He admitted in an interview that dating Janet Jackson actually made him more desirable to other women. That confession hit hard because instead of valuing the rare relationship he had, he saw it as leverage, a status boost. He didn't step back from the attention, he leaned into it. He said just being with her attracted more women, and instead of protecting what they had, he chased the attention that came with it. That wasn't just a slip in judgment, it was a clear choice. It wasn't about one mistake, it was about a mindset. He put the perks of being Janet Jackson's boyfriend ahead of the relationship itself. For Janet, that hurt wasn't just emotional. It felt strategic and selfish. She had already opened herself up in ways she hadn't done before, letting someone into her guarded world, trusting someone to hold that space with care. But Jermaine broke that, not by accident, but by chasing fame and validation outside their bond. And even though he's admitted the truth now, and even tried to reflect on it, the damage was already done. It left Janet with another chapter of disappointment in her love life. But cheating was only the tip of the iceberg. What came next was even more painful.
I enjoy what I do so much. I'm not ready to give it up. And then I want to be with my baby. So I do that too.
Cheating wasn't the only problem. What hurt Janet just as deeply was how Jermaine started to disappear from the relationship, physically and emotionally. In her own words, Janet revealed that she barely saw him. Sometimes they'd go weeks without even being in the same room. That wasn't due to conflicting schedules or major life events. It was because he didn't prioritize her. She shared how she would ask him, almost pleading with him, "Carve out just a little time for me." That sentence alone says so much. This wasn't a woman asking for grand gestures. This wasn't about private jets or luxury getaways. It was about time, basic human connection. And yet even that became too much to ask. What made this even more painful was the contrast. Janet Jackson is a woman who spent her entire life giving to her craft, to her fans, to her family. She's a global icon, yet she was quietly begging her partner just to show up. It wasn't about fame or power here. It was about emotional needs, intimacy, and being seen. But Jermaine had other priorities. When he wasn't working, he chose to hit the clubs. Partying took precedence over his partner. And it wasn't just once or twice, it became a pattern. Instead of finding his way home to Janet, he sought out nightlife, distraction, and attention. That spoke volumes. He had time, but he chose where to spend it, and it wasn't with her. What's even more heartbreaking is how Janet stayed. She kept hoping, kept asking, kept waiting for change. But what she got was silence, distance, and being put second to everything else. And when you think about who Janet is, not just the star, but the woman behind the fame, it becomes even clearer. She was showing up with her full heart, and he was only halfway present, if that. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, distance makes things impossible.
Who inspires you?
There's so many people. Obviously, aside from my brothers and sisters, when we talk about musical artists, there's obviously the whole Motown group.
On top of emotional neglect, there was the physical divide. Janet lived in California. Jermaine stayed in Atlanta. That cross-country gap turned into a growing emotional wall between them. Long distance is never easy, but in their case, neither of them was willing to bridge the gap. Janet had her world set up in California, Jermaine had deep roots in Atlanta, but instead of working toward a solution, they each dug in their heels. It wasn't just about geography, it was about commitment. The unwillingness to move or meet in the middle symbolized something bigger, a lack of long-term vision, a lack of willingness to sacrifice. Jermaine even brushed off the idea of moving to California. He once said, "Malibu ain't this," clearly referring to how he viewed LA life compared to Atlanta. That comment, while short, revealed a lot. It wasn't just about location. It was about how little he was willing to change for the relationship. It was dismissive, and it showed that he wasn't ready to prioritize building a life with Janet. The emotional disconnect started to mirror the physical one. Calls became less frequent, visits were rare, and any remaining connection started to fray. When a couple can't agree on something as basic as where to live, or worse, when they don't even try, it becomes a slow drift toward the end. What hurt the most for Janet wasn't just the distance. It was what the distance stood for. The message was loud and clear. This relationship was convenient until it wasn't. And while Janet was still trying to make it work, trying to hold on, Jermaine was already slipping away. One missed call, one club night, one flight not taken at a time. But to understand why this broke her so deeply, we have to rewind the clock.
Why did it end? Me being reckless.
Why did Jermaine and you break up?
I had heard that he was cheating.
One of the weird things about dating Janet is that dating Janet attracts other women. Girls wanted to talk to me more because I was dating her, which was really weird.
I wanted to have a family with him.
How many children would you want to have?
I like to have as many children as he'd like to have, and I probably will regret I ever said that.
I dated her longer than her marriages, so I have a different relationship with her than damn near probably anybody.
Before Jermaine Dupri, Janet Jackson had already lived through her share of emotional scars. Her first marriage to James DeBarge was a secret. They eloped in 1984 when Janet was just 18. But it didn't take long for things to fall apart. James was dealing with drug addiction, and their young love couldn't survive it. The marriage was annulled just a year later, leaving Janet disillusioned and guarded. Then came Renee Elizondo Jr., a relationship that started out as supportive but slowly turned suffocating. They were together throughout the peak of Janet's career in the 90s, and Renee was more than just a partner. He was behind the scenes, directing her videos, guiding her image, and shaping her brand. But it came at a cost. When their secret marriage finally ended, it came with a shocking lawsuit. Renee sued Janet for millions, claiming he was owed money for his work during their time together. That wasn't just a breakup, it was a betrayal wrapped in legal paperwork. Janet had seen it all: the addiction, the control, the manipulation, and the legal battles. Each time, she rebuilt herself quietly, without spectacle. And that's why Jermain's betrayal hit differently. Because he was the one she let in after all that. He was the one she believed might finally be different. Jermain wasn't the first man to let her down, but he may have been the one she trusted most. And yet, through it all, Janet kept one painful truth buried. Until now. Janet finally opened up about something she'd kept to herself for years. She wanted a family with Jermain. Despite everything, despite the long absences, the cheating rumors, the emotional distance, she still said yes. Yes to love, yes to building a future together. She accepted his proposal. She was willing to take that step even when the warning signs were all around her. She didn't go into it blindly, she saw the flaws, but she still believed in the potential of the love they had. But years later, when she spoke about it, her tone said it all. She admitted, "I probably will regret ever saying that." There was no bitterness in her voice, just regret. She had opened her heart again, even after everything she'd been through, and it wasn't enough. The truth is, Janet was ready to build a life with Jermain. She wanted more than dates, more than red carpets. She wanted roots, she wanted children, she wanted something lasting. But Jermain wasn't ready to give her that. In 2009, their relationship quietly ended, and even in the face of all that pain, Janet continued to rise. What do you think about Janet's truth? Was she too forgiving? Or did Jermain fumble the one thing money and fame can't buy? Real love? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.